In football, the fourth quarter is where the magic happens. It's where games are won, where champions are made, and in business, it's where sales teams become legends. That's why HubSpot built Sales Hub to give sales reps the deal making tools they need to win their Q4. Sales Hub's prospecting workspace organizes your schedule, goals, and to do list in one place to save your team precious fourth quarter time. And smart sequences help sales reps close deals faster than ever. So get ready to dominate Q4 with Sales Hub. Learn more at hubspot.com/sales. You're listening to Side Hustle Pro, the podcast that teaches you to build and grow your side hustle from passion project to profitable business. And I'm your host, Nicaila Matthews-Okome. So let's get started. Hey friends, welcome back to the show. It's Nicaila here, back with another episode. And today in the guest chair, I have Kunbi Odubogun. She is an industry-leading business attorney, speaker, and digital media expert with over 12 years experience in the legal and events industries. She is partner at Oduberg, a boutique business law firm that provides legal services to creative entrepreneurs. With a keen eye for detail and an unwavering commitment to her client success, Kunbi has built a reputation as a trusted legal advisor to startups, small businesses, and creative professionals. In addition to her work at Oduberg, Kunbi is also the creator of two online businesses, Legally Set, which is a contract template shop offering ready-made contract templates for creative entrepreneurs, and Perfete, a luxury events and lifestyle resource. In today's episode, Kunbi shares how she was able to start these side hustles while working as an attorney, and also how she transitioned from her full-time job to her own firm, as well as how she's transitioning from her first business that she started. So many gems shared in this episode. I can't wait for you to hear it. So let's get right into it. Kunbi, welcome to the guest chair.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure to have you here. You are an ultimate side hustler. Whenever I meet an attorney who side hustles, y'all, I just bow down because I don't know how, when you get the time, and you have two kids. So, okay, break it down for us. So you went to law school. What did you see yourself doing out of law school?
So for sure, I knew I wanted to do business law. I'm not even trying to be funny. Like I've known since I was little that,
why is that?
I wanted to be a well, because growing up as a Nigerian, everybody would tell you that we're the professional side hustlers. We're the professional side, but even hustlers, period. Everything is like, I remember they used to ask me when I was little, what does your dad do? He's a businessman. I don't know what that means. I didn't even know what the man did, but like, he's a businessman. What does your mom do? She's a businesswoman.
Oh.
So like for me, like, you know what I mean? So the idea of business was like the goal. And I knew I wanted to be an attorney. I don't know, like some of the reasons aren't actual legitimate reasons. I think it was more familial pressure and that, you talk too much, you should do law kind of thing. And it kind of just,
good at that.
You know what I mean? You know how they all say like, you must be a lawyer. So I kind of just ran with it and it just stuck like forever. I was like, okay, I want to be a lawyer. Came to America and found out the ugly truth that you have to first go through university.
Oh, yeah.
Get a whole degree first before you could even attempt law school. That was shocking. So, because that's not the situation elsewhere.
Can you just go to law school in Nigeria?
Yeah. You can get a bachelor. Well, it's still two-tiered, but you get a bachelor's degree in law.
Okay.
So you could do that first. You know what I mean? So it was strange, but
you did it.
I made it happen. I did.
What did you do after you graduated?
It was the most what I call magical experience. I went for my first interview, I think a couple of months before law school was going out, and this sweet older Jewish man was just talking to me about Nigeria. I thought it was the funniest thing. And I just knew that was where I wanted to work. So I started working out of a firm in New York City. Funny enough, it wasn't business law. It was a criminal defense law firm.
That sounds fun. I don't know why I think that's so fun.
It was fun for me because, first of all, I'm obsessed with law and order and like Criminal Minds.
Right.
So it was fun for me for like the first 6 months until I realized like, okay, no, this is getting really serious. these are some serious cases.
Right.
So, yeah, but then it was truly, I think it was meant to be because in that firm, they wanted to branch out into more general practice.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started building that practice together. And it just started with like business immigration. And then all of a sudden we were doing business law and
Okay.
grew it into an actual functioning arm of the business. And I thought that was just amazing. So that's what I did right out of law school. And I was there for 11 going on 12, like almost 12 years
Get
before I
out.
transitioned into my own. Mm-hmm.
I don't hear a lot of attorneys. Well, the ones that I've met on this show, I
Mm-hmm.
don't hear a lot of them stay that have been there that long, or at least not at the same firm. Like they transition maybe in-house first. So it sounds like you had a good
Mm-hmm.
experience and you got to be a part of transforming the firm.
Yes. See, it's one of those things where I say, like I said, I feel like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was so hands on. It was a small firm. There was literally 3 attorneys when we got started, and any attorney would tell you that it's those smaller firms in which you get hands-on experience for real. Like a lot of times in bigger law firms, you're doing like maybe a fraction of the work and then other people are doing it. You get to really get into the gritty of it. But also that firm became my family. My boss literally came to Nigeria for my wedding.
What?
So it wasn't like, yeah. So he came for my kid's
That's
first birthday. It's not,
amazing.
yeah. So it felt right, but it also gave me the opportunity being able to do that primarily, but also allowed me to do so many other things like my side hustles.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just the perfect fit.
Let's talk about these side hustles. So when did you start side hustling while you were working?
I started almost immediately,
Get out.
honestly, because, well, not immediately, but like, I graduated law school in 2010.
Okay.
And, my side hustles have always started from passion projects. It's never been, for me, what's curious is that most of them have never really been side hustles first. It was
Okay.
more like, oh, I was doing something passionately, like blogging. Like you don't really hear the blogging aspect of a business model as much now,
Mhm.
but in 2012, that's like, that was when we're really online doing
Oh, yeah.
like a lot of dumping
Yes.
on the internet when it
Yes.
came to information. So I started 2 blogs. One was a Tumblr account, and I was just blogging about my law school experience. It was called Legally Present. And it was just like, posting a bunch of memes about the like legal experience. And the other one was when I got engaged in 2012, I started like blogging about my wedding. And it's just those 2 little things that happened. And then they just kind of blossomed into 2 really incredible projects for me. My wedding blog was called Perfete. It was literally just me and a couple of my bridesmaids and like Twitter friends. I'd post stuff and share about my engagement experience.
Okay.
And then one day I wake up and there are 1 million views.
Get out.
Yeah.
Was that on the Tumblr platform as well?
No, so that one was on Blogspot.
Okay. Oh, good old Blogspot.
Like I know it's nostalgia, like on Google's free blogging platform called Blogspot.
Wedding is big business. So I'm not even surprised when I got married. I definitely was like, what business can I start? Like, there's so much money to be made here. But I just couldn't
There
figure
is
it
so
out.
much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, with the wedding discussion, right, there's so much money to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And you just really have to find the right angle. So a lot of people will just go for what they see other people doing because it's like there's money, it's money in it. Like just find what you can replicate. But I find that I've seen a lot of people try to disrupt the wedding industry in terms of certain angles. And then they spend a lot of money going into it and then it crashes out because the problem with weddings though is that it's the word volatile, but it's a very quick business in that something that's in this year might not be in next year.
Right.
Or might not be in after like 2 or 3 seasons. So you have to really be like very considerate about what kind of part of it you want to be.
Mm-hmm. And be ready to pivot. You're so right about that. Like a style, one year, it's like these kind of chairs. And now everyone wants the gold chairs with the, gold back and the white. It's like, I always say, I'm so glad I got married when I did, because I could not take the pressure of getting married. The Instagram pressure of getting married.
I cannot.
Yeah.
I would lose my mind. Like, especially, I can't even imagine. It's not literally nothing is the same.
Nothing.
Now, like, there's, and I'm not taking away from it because it's a beautiful thing. And you know what, like the truth, it's a big deal. It's big business, but it's also a very big day for not just for you, but for the vendors and people that are putting in their time. I don't know if I could survive it now.
Yeah. So what business did you shift Aisle Perfect into? So from the blog, how did you start to monetize?
So from the blog, like the blog was, like I said, initially the whole blogging idea of it was actually the model, basically, where it was, views automatically made ads, which
Okay.
made sense. And so the amount of people you were getting was doing, like, it just made sense like that. But then it started moving. And the way I started finding it was that a lot of vendors were following the platform. A lot of vendors were like, also looking at the content and looking to be featured and everything.
Okay.
So we first shifted into the directory model where it was like, okay, you have vendors, but then like everything is always and ever a forever pivot. So you're now thinking, so how else can I then like service these vendors and make sure that they're getting a good bang for their buck? We started doing things like the Aisle Perfect trends and tastings, which was like having micro events in cities and having vendors participate in it, like, and then, selling tickets, but also being able to leverage that into like printables and things that our couples could use. After a while, that model just kept growing in that sense. But then 2016 came. Anybody that's a blogger knows that was like probably peak views, blogs, and everything.
Really?
And then you start wondering how else you're going to like, how it's going to be a sustainable model more than a couple of dollars here and there. Ads. So now then it started being like brand partnerships. Like we've partnered with Dove, GoDaddy, Crate and Barrel, like larger brands who wanted to see their content translated into our audience. That worked for a while, and then I started getting the itch again. I'm always getting the itch, and I decided to pivot fully into what is now Perfete.
Okay. What's the difference with Perfete?
So Aisle Perfect is a wedding blog. It was for the, whoever wanted to be Aisle Perfect on their wedding day. In 2017, I had my first child, my son, and that was when I started getting the itch because I felt like I wasn't in the space where it was just weddings I wanted to talk about or cater to. I was seeing like avenues where there were moms now and like what I like to say, the Aisle Perfect couple had become like somebody else who was maybe buying a home or like, looking for like content for their kid's birthday.
Yeah.
And so the name Perfect, which basically is just the perfect fit, like a combination of the two words came about.
Okay.
I think it's harder to sell Aisle Perfect to somebody that's not planning a wedding. So the idea was to pivot into Perfect, made sure I got the trademark and everything done before I announced the whole rebrand of the site. And the idea for me was that with Perfect, then you're able to sell more things like the Perfect home, the Perfect party, Perfect kids, Perfect anything, and then tie that on there and kind of grow with your audience. So it wasn't just one audience anymore. It was a tough rebrand having to move something that already had so many legs. But I'm so glad that we did it. And so that's how we started to cater.
How did you bring your audience along with that journey?
Oh, that was an interesting one. So for me, it was with any rebrand anyway, I feel like there has to be like some carrying on for a little bit. So it was a lot of like, something's happening, sign up for our newsletter so you can be updated. Like a lot of like I even dabbled in surveys, like what do you want to see on the blog? But most importantly, what I did was I think I did a week of giveaways.
Okay.
So it was like, people were even doubling down on it because one, it was something that they wanted to see, to be fair, because they like the thing I was mentioning about like the wedding audience is that usually what ends up happening is that once the person plans their wedding, they're over it.
They're over it. Can I tell you, like, I will hide wedding content. I'm like, I don't ever want to see this again in my life. No.
Girl, who are you telling? Even as deep as I can be in this space.
You. Everybody else, I'm happy for you. I just, planning a wedding. There's a little PTSD involved in just all the things that you need to plan. So yeah.
Yeah, that was me too. It was post like PTSD and I felt like it was just, and then you now start even getting a little jaded after a while. It's like, okay, I've seen this before. And I'm like, okay, God, this is somebody's big day. Like, why am I finding myself rolling my eyes? When that person is in that season. So for me, that was important. So I still, like, I wanted to be able to talk about it. Like maybe not me, but like somebody on my team would talk about the wedding aspect. There's always somebody, the new couples are being made every single hour. So there's somebody that's in there. But then also I still like we had offshoots coming from it. So like the Perfete main page is Perfect Weddings.
Mm-hmm.
We have Perfect Bling, which is just
Mm.
completely engagement rings. So some people are
Ooh.
in that season too,
Yeah.
where it's just like that's all they wanted to do. So I felt like the way to monetize that
Yeah.
obviously is be able to maybe, for instance, get like commission from like rings that you sell,
Okay.
which is rings are big business.
Oh,
If anybody knows that, that's
yeah.
whew,
That's a big
that is where the money
commission.
is. Like being able to like still be able to give that person exactly what it is they're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
and do that. Now we're all in the season. A lot of people are in the season of tidying up their living spaces or
Mm.
homes or buying homes. So Perfect Home started last year,
Yes.
and it went straight to like 50,000 followers in like a very short period of time, because guess what? People are always looking at houses. Either they can afford or cannot
Right.
afford.
Right.
I, Kumbi,
Yes.
I stay looking at houses.
Yes. I have an Instagram saved folder that's just like interior design, for the future.
You
Like,
see? Mhm.
and I'll just
For
save
my future
things. Yeah, for
millions.
my future
Mhm.
$1 million house. Like, it's gonna
Why
happen.
not?
Yeah.
Or when I moved to Dallas, because Dallas is always on my Instagram feed talking about this is where your $200,000 will go, and you're like, wait, what?
Listen,
So yeah,
listen. I can't. We'll talk offline, but y'all, I can't do
yeah,
Texas. Sorry to my Texas people.
me neither.
I don't know
So
if
I
I
just
can do
keep
Texas.
saving.
Y'all gonna have to give me some pros and cons because one, I'm a city girl. Two,
Mhm.
these southern states,
You
they,
guys
they scare
know.
me. But yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah, you guys know what she's saying,
You know what I'm
because
talking about.
we're all on the same
Texas and
page.
Florida, you get the side eye a little
Mhm,
bit.
exactly.
So if I'm to understand you correctly, as you're running this side hustle, are you monetizing through sponsorships plus also like banner ads and things on your website?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I can say, for like, to be completely candid, the monetization wasn't happening for a long time, because,
Oh.
like I said, I really was doing it just because, like,
Mhm.
it was something that I truly enjoyed, and I
Yeah.
hadn't figured out, how to. One of Anybody would tell you, like, even the smartest people, or even people that go to school for it, don't necessarily make the best business owners. So at
Mm.
first, like, it takes a lot of like adjusting into that space and realizing that, okay, wait, I actually have something of value here. And it didn't click for me. I was like, I call myself one of the OG wedding bloggers, because it was like a period where it was just like echoes and echoes,
Mhm.
especially in the like Black wedding space,
Mhm.
which, like, there was like Muna Lucci and bridal, I think bridal,
Bridal Bliss or something. Yeah.
well, yes. And yeah, so there's a few, but it was like, okay, this kind of content, like, especially if you were trying to produce, like present another like side of that space or the spectrum, it was echoes. And they're throwing the money at the white blogs a lot, like,
Mhm.
just generally, because they're the ones that are forward facing a lot of times, but like it was hard to like really convince
Yeah.
advertisers. But let me tell you something, one thing that's for sure in this world is that the audience, though, is going to keep showing up, and
Mhm.
they're going to keep running those numbers high. And after a while, people don't even argue with the numbers anymore, because it's like, okay, look at what numbers I'm doing, and this is how. So for the longest part, I didn't realize how to monetize it beyond like the just the face of it, like
Mhm.
the banner ads. But then I started seeing things like affiliate commission, like affiliate links and things like that, because now you're sharing things that you actually like,
Mhm.
but also including a link with it in which people can purchase and you make commission. All of a sudden, my lawyer ass that never knew anything about math is doing the math, and it's like, wait a minute now, okay, this is actually
Yeah.
a viable business.
Right.
So that was how we started to change. At
Okay.
one point, we even started getting like contacts from like music labels or something, where it's like, oh, this is a wedding song, is there any way you can tie this into like something?
Interesting.
Yeah, that was the first time that had ever happened. And so that was like, even because it's a new space for you, you start to learn
Yeah.
new ways to monetize.
Mhm.
And so when they came and they're like, oh, we have this song, it already has like a 1 million views on
Right.
YouTube, but can you also integrate it into your marketing? Because we want to like escalate, like we want to get it out to
Yeah.
the wedding crowd. Sure. I'll take your check. That's how we started to discover new ways to
Right.
monetize.
How much did it grow to as far as like revenue per month, if you even are comfortable sharing a ballpark? Is it something where you
Mhm.
ever considered leaving your job to do Perfect full time?
So yeah, I definitely at one point I would say that there was a month where, and it's not like large numbers by
Yeah.
any chance, because I compared to like the potential, I would say like there could have been more. But at some point it was like, you were seeing numbers like 20,000 come in on
Yeah.
something that you're doing like passively,
Mm-hmm.
like not super actively in
Yeah.
there. And that, but then just started growing, like there were higher months and things like that. But for me, the thing with Perfect was always that I knew that if I left my job, the potential was like limitless, because the kind of content that you're trying to like push, especially for a blog that posts, let's say, 4 times a month or like 8 times a month,
Yeah.
is really something that could add up. So I would say, if you think about it, it's money that's coming in without many expenses,
Mm-hmm.
like really beyond like the content. And then maybe I started to expand into staff,
Okay.
and that's when it started to really grow. So I would say, like, even at some point it was growing into something that would bring in even 30,000 or more, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, wait, this is a side
A
hustle that's no
passive
longer
side
becoming,
hustle at that.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is working. Yeah.
What did you decide to do then?
I just kept drilling down on it and just trying to like make sure I was marketing to that space. For
Right.
instance, we have a great audience in Nigeria as well. So there's even that Nigerian aspect. None of the income that I was even mentioning was including that space.
Yeah.
So I registered the company in Nigeria as well and
Oh.
started to monetize on that end as well. And so we're partnering with some brands there as well, with through a PR firm that we just loved, and was like, really contacting like partnering with us and stuff as well. But Nikela, like, really, like, it was that I saw that it was growing,
Mm-hmm.
but then I also saw that I was really into being a lawyer. I don't know how to
Okay.
explain it. So for me, I started to find like what Perfect became to me was I started trying to figure out how I could do the law thing full time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was doing it full time, but really double down on that space. So with Perfect, I started to think about things like, oh, the vendors here, these people are really taking care of so much money,
Mm-hmm.
like, and so much, and bringing so much of value. How can I be of service to them as
Okay.
well? And that is when I started really thinking about like expanding my focus to the creative business and to like, event pros, which is what me and my law firm partner now, like, also we also focus on like event pros in a good chunk of the industry. But it was really from that, because I saw that, okay, yes, I'm creating this thing that's doing well, like doing well enough for me to feel like it's something. We're still trying to find like, product roots, how we can be of like more of a stable wedding, like, a stable event and lifestyle business. But then I saw this space and I just ran with it.
And what exactly was that space? When you say event pros, what does
Mhm.
that mean?
So with event professionals, a lot of times I find that they're creating and they're doing a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
But then one thing that I was starting to see and hear from like my friends and people that are in the industry was that they weren't really protecting their business. So they weren't really handling like, the legal aspect of
Right.
businesses. And I think, as my luck would have it, and maybe not theirs, you started to see more lawsuits,
Ooh.
because events are such a delicate and beautiful thing in people's lives. And because even if it's weddings or parties, I found that
Mm.
a lot of them were like, it could turn sour really quick.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of lawsuits, and I'd start getting calls from people that maybe I wasn't handling their stuff then, but it's like, I'm getting some trouble from a client. Like, can you help me look, can your law firm help me look at my contract? And that's where I just started to see so many red flags.
Mm.
And so for me, I created Legally Set, which is our contract template shop for them.
Okay.
My brain is always thinking about a hustle, but this was the next side hustle that just felt natural to me.
What were some of the things you saw that were missing from their contracts?
Oh gosh, like from the beginning, even something as simple as payment terms.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that that's the one that a lot of people would focus on. But like a lot of people weren't having like payment terms that made sense in terms of how much they earned or how much was going to be non-refundable, when payments were due, how payments would be accepted. Something as basic as that. But then my biggest mistake that I kept seeing was in the description of services.
Ooh. What do you mean by that?
So anybody that has planned, and I know but like even with planning your wedding,
Mm-hmm.
like one thing that people get is the confusion between what the vendor has promised and what the client is expecting.
Okay.
I find that a lot of the conflict happens when there's a conflict between that statement, because all of a sudden a planner is expected to be the MC or the person that's going to set up and break down on the day. and they're like, that is not part of my job. Or maybe
Right.
they were supposed to do like, handling of the guests in a certain way, or like,
Yeah.
oh, who's going to do the flower
Yeah.
arrangement?
Yeah.
If those descriptions aren't clear, you have a problem from the beginning.
Right. That is so true because you'll have some people who are like, oh, it's all hands on deck. We were expecting you to just jump in and start doing stuff. Like, no, no,
Yeah,
no. There's a list of services.
exactly. Or like even something as designing.
Right. How did you promote the contract template business?
So that was the great thing. So with having a company that already had like over 600,000 followers across different audiences, I call Perfect my funnel, because then it was easy enough to obviously reach out to the exact audience that you were trying to reach. I think I've been very intentional about building my own personal brand as
Mhm.
well, in terms of like, my own space on the internet. So for me, people already knew I was juggling business and perfecthood in some way or the
Yes.
other. So it was easy to be able to double dip into that audience.
Mhm.
I also was really intentional about like, even months before I launched Legally Set, like I was very intentional about keeping the audience along, like, having little sessions, or
Yes.
maybe weekly I'd talk something legal. I'm also the kind of person that once I hear there's a new social media thing or the other, I'll run to it. So Clubhouse was very helpful
Oh,
in terms of like, just showing up and talking about the topic that I wanted, like, the topic that involved what I was going to sell.
okay. You are on it. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like that's like, it's if it's stuff that I'm telling people
Right.
to do or like advising people on, I really have to put my money where my mouth is. And so for me, showing up even before I spend money on ads or any of
Mhm.
those, like, the paid advertising,
Yes.
like showing up and actually doing these things is so important to me.
Marketing Made Simple, hosted by Dr. JJ Peterson, is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. Marketing Made Simple brings you practical tips to make your marketing easy and, more importantly, make it work. If you want to check it out, definitely start with episode What Really Goes Into Writing a Sales Email. It was a recent episode from September, and I know that a lot of you guys can feel a little stumped at how to create an effective sales email and sales funnel. Well, in this episode, you get a real life example with a real business owner in the hot seat that walks you through what it looks like to write a great sales email. So listen to Marketing Made Simple wherever you get your podcasts. I like the fact that although there is an active element, like you just said, showing up, doing social, being active and present, there is a lot of passive elements to the businesses that you started. You create these templates, they're done, they're for sale. Boom, you can go and get them. That is a very smart way
Best.
to have a side hustle when you have such a demanding job as an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
How did that funnel work though? Was it something that was consistent with money? Was it also something that ran you like 5 figures a month, or was it, like a slower process, slower revenue?
So I think because I had so much time prepping for it, like I would say yes and no, because the funnel, like, in the beginning, because I already knew I was putting money into like, the build of the site to make sure that it was actually working. I'm not the first person to do it. Like I've seen contract template shops come up so many times from other attorneys. So it's not like I was reinventing the wheel per se. I just obviously had the benefit of knowing what I wanted to do differently. So like for me, I know I was putting in money, like, making sure that the contracts were drafted properly, like I was drafting them properly, but also making sure that I've always worked like with another attorney just to make sure that it's not one-sided. And now actually she's come on full-time and we are partners and co-owners of the Legally Set brand because we do this together, because these things are not a one-man ship at all. My partner in the law firm, Leah Weinberg, we do both the law firm and the contract templates together now. And the thing about digital templates though is like after a while it's not that much money that you're pushing into like running it apart from the ads, but the money's coming in because it's work that you've already done and work that you have the ease of updating from time to time without having to like stress about a physical product and like delivery and all those expenses. So I would say it's a very convenient side hustle.
Oh, of course. So you mentioned that you mentioned this law firm that you started, but we have to talk about your transition from your original law firm that you worked at for, what was it, 11, 12 years?
Yeah.
When did you decide to leave?
Maybe 6 months before I actually decided, like actually said it out loud. It was more, I saw that, I was working for someone. I understood that the firm will obviously move in the direction that it wanted to, but I
Right.
really wanted to be able to cater not exclusively, but particularly to creative business owners. I also have a big affinity, obviously, as a Black woman, to Black entrepreneurs in general. So I wanted to be able to I started getting a lot of people reaching out to me, like specifically even because I was a Black woman. And it's like, oh, you know what? I wanted to make sure that this is the person that's handling my things and everything. And because my whole firm, like the rest of the firm, isn't really doing that. Like I said, it's mostly criminal defense. Like I want to be able to sell what I'm doing. And because I was doing Perfete and I was doing like all these things, just felt like it would be a conflict for me to stay there that longer with the dreams that I had of like expansion. I wanted to be able to run my own like business, but my own firm the way I wanted to run it. And because Leah and I had worked, like we had started working on things together, I was like, we should start a firm. Like we can do this. I feel like there's so much there. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I started to run the numbers too. I was like, this is how much I would have to make to be able to like feel like I'm not a failure. So let's I'm joking. That's the Nigerian in me. But like everybody knows with entrepreneur life, it's up and down.
Right.
So to be able to make sure that I'm staying afloat. So I dabbled, like I started to like put my foot out and be like, oh, hey, if I started a firm, is this stuff that you would be interested in? And honestly, it was the best decision. It took us a while, but like we started January 1st. I decided it was for us. And then we've been going ever since.
And how is it gaining new clientele or even getting the word out that, hey, this is our firm, we do this?
That's something that I'm learning on the go. I'm not even going to lie. I think it's interesting. Like one thing that you forget about, like, especially when you're moving from your side hustle to like a main hustle, like when it's something you've been doing and then you do it, is that the responsibilities kind of double. With like you going into your own thing, because now you're the boss and now you're the person that has to keep the business going, and there's just so many aspects of it. So it's different with professional organizations or businesses like a law firm or an accounting firm. You have to like whatever you think the popular way of advertising is, it might not necessarily be the one that works for you. So it's joining like these organizations in the back end, going to the quote unquote Westchester Business Fair and getting local, like, businesses to know what your business is. There's a lot of like, paid advertising too, like there are firms that do this and the marketing, but it's also just showing up a lot. Like you'll find, I'm sure Siri is listening right now. So probably when you go on Instagram now, you're going to see just a bunch of law firm ads. But it's, for me, I still lean on what has worked for me from the beginning, which has always been like my form of advertising, where it's like I'm weaving into my regular day. I'm doing content as I feel like it's right and appropriate. And for some reason, it keeps reaching people. And so it brings in like people still come because they keep seeing your face or your message showing up in things. And that's how we've been doing. But we've also been tapping into like the more traditional things. Our email newsletter never misses. Something that's constant. If you follow Legally Set and if you sign up for the Legally Set letter, for instance, and we use Legally Set as a funnel too, because people buy contract templates, but then some people need like customized, more specific.
Or they have follow-up questions and things like that.
And Legally Set is just a shop. It's a shop because, I mean, we're not licensed to practice law in 50 states of America. You know what I mean? And we're not creating like attorney-client relationships. Yep, that's my disclaimer.
Now, question, speaking of that whole disclaimer business, how do you manage, when you were still working at the firm, the whole conflict of interest thing, or just the rules that they have? I saw this year an influencer post about joining a firm and them finding out about her fashion. You saw that. Yeah. How do you navigate that?
You navigate it beginning and end. Unfortunately, like things are changing really fast. So everything begins and ends with your employment agreement. A lot of stuff will begin and end with your employment agreement. So that's why it's very important that you check what you've signed, because if something states that you can't make certain income in certain ways, it has to be a full-time job, and it can't be something that it's like, like you can make income elsewhere
Yeah.
or something similar, depending on what that language is really important. A lot of people are signing things that are open-ended. I did see that situation, and it was like, I felt so horrible for her, because it depends on what is obviously inside her agreement.
Right.
But because a lot of people are, even influencers, non-influencers, but a lot of people are making money now through content.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important that you see what you're signing before you enter into them. Even doctors have that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, I'm sure there's something in like doctor agreements that say you can't do, like, like side consultations, or like, share certain things. The employment agreement is really, really important, and just making sure. So I navigated that because I knew what was in my own employment agreement. And I was also very candid. I've always been candid with my employers, but that's the benefit of like a smaller firm, obviously.
It really is nice when you can have a relationship and you feel supported in your outside ventures, and they know that they don't need to be threatened by it. But the world is shifting. Like, the industry of influencers and their reach on TikTok and all these other platforms didn't exist 10 years ago. And so now employers are getting a little bit more hip to it, and I think they're afraid too of people just like coming to work and making a bunch of content. Like, do your job.
It's fear. I think, I mean, it's legit. Like, to be honest, legitimate.
And honestly,
like I can imagine.
It's a slippery slope, because I definitely don't want my doctor like filming any content of me. I mean, I don't want to go back on IG and see like my shoes in your, like, even if you didn't put my face, it's a slippery slope. Okay. This generation coming up.
Oh God, it is. Like, it's. Listen, I just don't want. I don't want to go on my
hear
rant,
no
story my old person rant
on your Instagram stories about me. Question I asked in your office today. No.
No, like, exactly. Like, I've seen, but you know what? We're laughing, but it's legit. Like, all of a sudden, you're the story behind a whole Twitter thread. And I'm like,
I follow you. You might not know, but Doc, I follow you on IG. I see your stories. Like,
where's my business here? Like, what is this? Like, it's
going to be a real concern. It's going to be a real law concern. And by the way, guys, this is a tangent, but this might be applicable to you guys as well. Cause I know as a lot of businesses, like, you're trying to make content around your business, right? Make sure that your customers don't feel violated. Like, I remember I went for a facial, and after I was leaving the facial, I realized when my eyes were closed, the woman was taking video of me. I went in on her in the DMs, and she took it down. I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
rightfully
you need permission to film people, even if you're trying to promote your business. So make sure you're getting permission and you're not violating people's rights.
Also, make sure you're reading the terms and conditions before you sign up. Just because you see that the hairstylist has written in all caps about so many things on that booking page, we all know what I'm talking about, where you're already debating whether or not you're going to this hairdresser in the first place.
If you're taking the risk because you love their work, right?
Listen, just make sure you scroll down, because
all
I
the way down.
Photos and videos in caps will be taken over. I'm
make
like,
sure you dress cute or something like that.
Yes. And I'm like, oh God.
If I feel like you're yelling at me, I'm not coming. I'm not coming.
Listen, I have to, Misa knows my problems.
Yes.
I'm sending her a message. I'm sending her a screenshot, my friend, and I'm like, do you think I should go to this? And she's like, Kunbi, the woman is yelling at you right now.
So, yes.
What do you want
all
to
jokes
do?
aside, on both sides of the equation, read your agreements. They're changing now. So nowadays, we had a little bit more freedom. Creating content on the side was not something employers were thinking about. Now they're thinking about it, and those agreements are including it. So, be aware of what you're signing. And I know some people will take a risk and do it anyway, but a risk will have consequences.
It will. And also, employment agreements, some agreements too will have like morals clauses. And a morals clause sometimes like could lean towards like, you're not allowed to bring like certain kind of negative press or whatever. Like, behaviors could also like be cause for termination or something like that. My policy is, if you don't understand it, don't sign it. Like, it's just as simple as that, because what you could be signing up something that's really going to cost you money in the future.
Oh, yes. Now, I understand that you are considering selling Perfete. How did you come to that decision, and why did you want to do that?
So for me, it's always been, I feel like at some point during your side hustle journey, you have to make the decision. I feel like at some point you will have to make the decision whether or not you want to upgrade it to your main hustle, or if you want to continue, you either want to continue like in perpetuity of it being like something that's just like something that you're holding on to. Like I mentioned, like the one thing that I've always known about Perfect is that the revenue could be way bigger than what I've done with it.
Mhm.
I've managed it because it's the hustle that I've been doing. But like for me, it's a combination of that and knowing that it would do greater things in somebody's hands.
Mhm.
And it's the idea that I feel like I'm transitioning through that season again. I have a second child now. My hands are full. That's the nicest way to put it. And she's something.
Yeah.
But like, so it's just like, you know what? I just feel like there's always a point where you realize that somebody else can do more for it than
Mhm.
you might be able to do.
Yeah.
And that it's just something that needs a particular kind of attention.
Yeah.
So I'm in that stage of, like speaking through offers and things like that
Yeah.
of like, preparing for a possible exit.
Okay. How do you reconcile how much, if you were able to give it more time or hire more staff to give it more time,
Mm-hmm.
how much you would be able to make versus how much you'll make from the
Mm-hmm.
sale?
I think it just depends. Like, in terms of reconciliation, it was more that I came to the point where I did the math and I was like, even if it made X amount of money, can I really focus on it full time? If my passion and where I'm feeling like I'm really called to serve is in the law aspect, like it would always be something where I'm distracting
Yeah.
like myself and my audience with the two things
Yes.
because it's like, okay, cool, this is Kunbi of Perfect, but it's also Kunbi of the law firm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you
And
mean.
so like, yeah, so I just felt like it was a situation where it wasn't something I could do passively anymore. It wasn't something where I could be like, okay, this was what I'm doing. And also for me, like honestly, like on a more personal note, I felt like at some point it starts to become not a conflict of interest, but it's like if I'm servicing these people or the creatives in this space, like I want to make sure the line is clear that I'm not also their competitor.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In any way, like not necessarily, but like I'm not, but like I just
Yeah.
want to be able to make that even like I just want to really be able to relay that I'm that person in one lane than the other. I also feel like it's in a season of growth
Yes.
in which I feel like somebody could really take it on and like get into that space and do something really amazing with it. Before the followers don't mean anything anymore. I feel like with any business, when you're trying to like weigh whether or not it's worth of value,
Yes.
you want to make sure that it's of value when you're selling it. So it's of value, and I think it's something that would make sense to somebody else.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. So reconciling that was not hard for me.
Okay.
I think I'm one of those people that would move really, like I move with my gut a lot, but I also move with at least some kind of educated pointing where I'll do the math and realize, okay, yes, but even if I made this much, what's going to happen to my law business? What's going to happen to this? And I don't want those to suffer just because I'm trying to, like, what happens? There will always be, for me, because maybe it's because of obviously of the businesses that I've dealt with or businesses that I've helped like, work with. It's just, I always feel like there's an end date. What that end date looks like is different from everybody. Like obviously that end date could mean that it has grown or expanded into something else. And then now it's a new thing, like how I'll Perfect became Perfect.
Right.
There was an end date for one and became the next. Or it could be that you make $100 million and sell it to like, X or Target or something, or you decide that it's not for you anymore and change your completely pivot and change your business model. So for me, I feel like this is the natural, like the end date is not necessarily the end of the business, but the end of me as the person that's handling it.
It's transition season, and it's so good that you can recognize, you can have that conversation with yourself and recognize when, you know what, it's time, your time has come to part. Your heart is somewhere else. And that's okay.
Exactly.
I'll keep on saying this, but it's like as entrepreneurs, we hire ourselves. It's not clear when you get to leave. Like when you get a job, it's more normalized for people to work somewhere for 5 years and then leave. When you're an entrepreneur and all of a sudden you want to move to something different, there's like more stigma attached, or people are like, what? You started a business? Like, no, I've been here for 5 years and I'm ready for a change, or I've been here for 10 years and I'm ready for a change, just like a normal human who started a job and wants something new.
I think so. And I think that conversation actually starts within. I love to study like women entrepreneurs. I love them.
Yeah.
So like I've seen, like for me, I've seen like so many transitions. I think even like I had messaged Nicole Kane at one point when
Okay.
I was like trying to pivot, like, like I've seen like models and I've seen
Yes.
things where they like a lot of people have been very candid about like, their experiences
Right.
selling. So
Yes.
for me to come to the decision to like want to exit, I've seen that emotional like dilemma
Mm-hmm.
and task it is. I've seen the emotional consequences of sales. So you have to do a lot of mental gymnastics in the beginning to get yourself where you are comfortable
Right.
and for sure, like, okay, Kunbi, now this is what you're trying to do. Just know there's no take backs. That's one.
You can't ask for it
This
back.
is the no, you can't. Like, there are no take backs. Are you okay with whatever
Hmm.
direction this goes in
Yes.
that you have no control over?
Yes.
So, like I said, like you're wrestling with yourself in the beginning and making sure that you are now at the point where
Hmm.
it's like, okay, I have done the
Right.
numbers. I've also done the emotional.
Yes. Because your identity becomes wrapped up in it too.
Exactly. It's literally one and the same.
Yeah.
Like everything becomes like it in any passion fueled business, you're putting so much more than money inside it.
Hmm.
Everybody knows that. So like there's a lot of like wrestling that you have to do and have to like try kind of start to try and distance your identity from that single thing because like you said, I could change my mind in 5 years and decide that this is something else. Or I could decide I don't want to do this anymore. I
Right.
could decide that this is not the season I'm in. So I have to be able to remove that and not have the incredible hangover or depression that comes with it because I've removed myself from something that I thought was just part and
Yes.
like my full purpose. So yeah.
And you went from starting something yourself to now starting something
Mm-hmm.
with a business partner. What was that like?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you guys manage being in partnership?
I'm so grateful. Like I'm grateful that it was something that I really thought about.
Yeah.
Like I got like I remember running it by a bunch of people, even people that had partners were like, "Kumbi, are you mad? Like, what are you doing?" Like especially right at the point when I turned 35 and I'm like, okay, I want to do this. And one of my friends was like, I'm trying to get out of one right now. I don't know what you're doing, but it goes back to being able to do that mental work in the beginning and realize that this is what you're going to do. Going into a partnership is like a marriage.
Yes.
It is like lawyers will tell you that all the time because
Yes.
it's just about the same amount of paperwork you have to do to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's simple as that. So like we know about like there's a law firm where the two partners, if you're from New York, you know what I'm talking about, where like they have had a big breakup and we see their ads on TV all the
Oh,
time, but now
yeah.
it's only one name that's there. You know what I'm talking about. So it gets really awkward. But like it's because it's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah.
So for me with my partner, we like I said, she'd been working behind the scenes with me
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning of the template shop. Like we've always done it together, but she wasn't sure she wanted to like really fully commit to law. And I was like, well, I am a very convincing person. So I won't even like, it's okay. I'm sure you come around. And then one day she came around, but it's a lot. And it's also removing the emotion from it from the
Okay.
beginning. I believe in that 100%, regardless of what kind of business you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're going into a partnership, you need to remove the emotion from it
Yes.
and do the work in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that your contracts are clear as to how things will be handled.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you both are understanding of what your business goals are
Yes.
and what it is that your long-term plans are, how long you envision being in this partnership. Because emotions will cloud judgment, especially at the inception. And then when those start to fade,
Right.
you start to get really antsy about what's left.
Yes.
It's the same thing with, like I said, with marriage.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, you want to make
Right.
sure you're doing the work and checking in. Another thing is also like, personality types and making sure that you understand that we are always doing some kind of personality understanding. She's super type A. I'm more on the, oh God, just what I call vibes. But like we make it work.
Yes. Yes.
So like making sure that we're both understanding that. I feel like in any business relationship, partnership or not, a lot of things, like a lot of conflict can be resolved by making sure that assumptions aren't what we're doing, but we're really going down to the letter.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why it's so fun when two lawyers go into business together, because it's the kind of rubbish that we talk about. Like, okay, so now let's be serious, and then we have lots of talking.
Right. I imagine it's easier because you both know that, hey, this is how we need to enter a partnership legally. There's nothing emotional
Mm-hmm.
here. I'm not saying I don't trust you or this or that, but we got to plan for
Exactly.
an exit if we decide, hey, I want to just
Mm-hmm.
focus on my family. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is how we would dissolve and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I just find that interesting because there's so many people who enter into unofficial partnerships. And it could be
Do you hear my
something,
laugh?
yeah, it could be something as
Mm-hmm.
people all the time, you know, when they ask me or they join Podcast Moguls, they're like, I think I need a co-host, or, you know, me and my
Mm-hmm.
co-host this. And I consider that a partnership. Okay. Like,
It is
if
a
you're going to start a
partnership.
podcast,
It
yeah,
is.
if you're going to start a podcast with someone, you guys need to have some agreements in place, because I have seen people
Mm-hmm.
break up and then it's like, all right, well, who gets the podcast? And I've put all this work into it.
The
So
asset.
what
Mm-hmm.
happens? You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to continue making
Mm-hmm.
money off this. Like, any kind of partnership, you need to have a business agreement and all these other agreements. Cause, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I know you need a bunch of agreements.
Yeah. You do. You do.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that it's clear what the
Yep.
intellectual property is. It
Yep.
is intellectual property. You're doing things, you're creating ideas, a collaboration agreement at the very least, detailing what everybody's bringing and what happens if you guys decide to terminate that collaboration
Yes.
is really important.
Yes.
Because it's not even a matter of it's considered a partnership. It is a partnership.
Yes.
Anything in which you're doing something with another person for value or in exchange for something in any way or the other, even if it's not income generating,
Right.
is of value. You do not want a situation where things will turn ugly
Right.
really fast
Right.
and people will surprise you.
Yes.
And even if it doesn't, don't you
Even if
just
it
want peace of
doesn't.
mind?
Peace of mind. It's just
Yeah.
easier to know, oh, okay, these
Mhm.
are the steps we're going to follow. So you guys, I give you
Exactly.
permission. If you have started a business with a friend and you did not do any kind of agreements, send them this episode. Say, hey, after listening to this, I realized this is what we need. Again, not because I don't trust you or what have you, but we want to treat this as a business and we're going to do everything right. So this will help with that conversation.
Yeah, I think you can say, just because I want to remain friends with
Right.
you if this goes left.
Exactly.
Like, I love you. I want to make sure.
And this
Like,
is why
yeah,
I don't do
just send it out.
business with friends and I don't do living with
Mhm.
friends because I want to
Yeah.
remain friends with them. But if I was to do a business, I
Exactly.
think a business would be easier because, yeah, we would just, you know, outline everything, have all the agreements in place. And I'm glad that I know this now before I ever attempted to do that. So thank you for sharing that.
Exactly.
And before we jump into the lightning round, I'm curious to know how you feel now working in your own firm versus when you worked at a firm.
I'm always working now, man. I'm always
Oh, really?
like, what? Like, well, I'm only always working now. I'm not going to lie. It's
Yeah.
been one thing for sure. The reason why I did it is why I feel more at peace in that regard. It just feels like what I'm doing matters.
Yes.
It's not a drop in an ocean anymore. Like, I'm speaking to people one-on-one and it's like, oh, this is how I'm changing somebody's business.
Yeah.
A lot of it's giving a little bit of narcissism right now, but but like, it just the way I was saying it, but like, it's fulfilling being able to see a business grow and know that you played a part in it or whatever. So that's one. But then also, not to get super deep, but I feel like I'm creating a legacy. I'm creating something of mine. It's something. I have a daughter now. Let me tell you something. It's a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just, I mean, I have a daughter and a son. It's not gender wars here, guys, but like, it's just like, I feel like I'm doing something really important and like, it's my name on something. It's something that I'm building.
Right.
Like, and even after I'm not here, it will be here and it's something that I've created. I don't know. It's exciting for me.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. It's not gender wars at all. It's different lenses. I always joke with my friends when I found out I was having a girl. I'm like, man, I'm going to have a little bit more explaining to do. Like, it's going to be like, mommy, what's this wig about? What's like, every little move now, gotta explain.
Everything. I'm going when we're done, I'll send it to you privately, but I'll send you Ara dragging my wig around.
My God.
And
I
actually,
think I saw it on your IG story.
Like, it's
That's
always
gonna be
something.
me.
Like, and I think what it is, like I said, it's what it is because you see yourself in somebody else.
Yeah.
And it can mess with your mind because, like, you know, now all of a sudden it's a problem because any millennial will know is like we're always trying to overcorrect.
Oh, yeah. I'm already like, oh man, how do I make sure she doesn't get my bad habits? But you don't get to design your child. You just
no, you don't.
You just shepherd them.
Exactly. So it's just like you feel there's a little extra pressure now, like to make sure that she's seeing the right thing. So yeah, it's an exciting time.
Oh.
They talk too much. I feel like even though she can't talk, I just feel like there's a lot of attitude with her
it's
face.
coming.
But,
it's coming. Okay, so I'm pulling up the lightning round. We're going to jump
Okay.
into it. You just answer the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
No.
No?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
I am ready.
So, number one, what's a resource, not Google, that has helped you in your many businesses that you can share with the Side Hustle Pro audience?
SBA.gov, guys. I'm sorry. It's a very important one, and I feel like people don't think about it a lot. It's
Yeah.
not just for loans.
Okay.
Even your local SBA
Yes.
association can help you start a business. They can give you their advisors over there
Yes.
that you can book appointments with that will help you do these things, a lot of things for free and
Okay.
walk you through a lot of stuff. Just go on there. I say SBA.gov
Yeah.
because then you're able to see a lot of government.
Mm.
Like they'll point you, they create in a way that they can walk you through things. I do not have any stake in that business. I'm
Yes.
just telling you.
Thanks for that
Because
reminder.
first off,
Yep, you're so right. So Small
it's a
Business
random
Association,
site.
guys. We'll link to that. Small
Yes,
Business
the
Association.
Small Business Association, and each state will have their own small
Yes.
business association, like maybe not an accelerator, but things that they will help assist with,
Right.
even things as simple as formation, but even also like just making sure you're doing the right thing. And these you can tap into those resources for free.
Okay. Number two, who is a non-celebrity Black woman entrepreneur that you would trade places with for a day and why?
You.
Ah,
Yes. I'm no,
me. It's gonna be
but
very
you know
boring.
this.
No.
I'm not even being funny. It's not going to be very boring. Honestly, let's trade life so you can deal with my daughter for now. But it is you. And this is like anybody that knows me personally knows that. You know that I signed up for your
Yeah.
podcast moguls course
Right.
even before I met you because I wanted to
Wow.
start a podcast. I think you're doing something really brilliant. I think for someone to go through from corporate into this and like really create a space that's like dedicated and like, you know, a space that's actually speaking directly to women entrepreneurs, I think it's amazing, especially Black women entrepreneurs. And you've done it for so long.
Yeah.
Like, bruh, you're doing something really amazing. I would
Don't make
trade
me
lives with you.
cry.
No, I'm serious.
You
Like
know,
you're
the
doing something,
pregnancy
you're
hormones.
impacting.
Thank you. Thank you.
And excuse me, everybody knows Nikela as one word. Even if I say Nikelia because I named you, like whatever the situation.
You the only one I'll let you remix it like that.
Thank you. But you know what I mean? Like we know who you are and you're doing something amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Number three, what is a non-negotiable part of your day?
30 minutes of silence I have before I hear my daughter cry in the morning. So I try to wake up at least 30 minutes earlier than her. Because I have, for instance, I have ADHD, like diagnosed. I also have many like businesses that I have to check on and make sure I'm burning. So for me, it's just even being able to get just complete silence in the morning before, so I'm not starting my day on a like very like antsy, like, you know, high pitched day. It's the game changer for me.
I need to start doing that
So that's
more
it.
consistently because every time I do, I love it, but then I just sleep calls me and
sleep.
But no, I need to because I feel good every time I do it.
Even if it's 30 minutes,
Yeah,
just
even 30
something.
minutes
I just need
alone
something
with my tea and my thoughts. What is a personal trait that has helped you significantly in business?
It's the vibes, girl. It's the vibes. One thing about me, I'm not down for long.
Yeah.
So tenacity is really important when you're doing your business, but you find that even more when you're an entrepreneur because there will be punches. There will be punches. And there's no time, like there's only so much time you can do to take it personal and wallow. Otherwise, like business is it's a super volatile situation, regardless of what industry it is. Like you, especially being a business owner. So you like, they're almost like you can have minutes, you can have hours, you can have days, you can have weeks, but you have to get up at some point and figure out what your strategy is, whether it's to move, exit, keep going, whatever it is. It's a trait that I'm finding to be very helpful. So I will have moments where it's like, okay, I'm burnt out. Or it's moments where it's like, okay, this is not going well. It's also moments of like, why is this tax bill $10,000 or something crazy? But it's that grit in terms of coming back up that's really important to me.
And then finally, number five, what's your parting advice for fellow women entrepreneurs who want to be their own boss, but are holding on to that steady paycheck?
That paycheck is bae. Let's not lie. That paycheck is bae. And it's okay. It doesn't matter how long it takes for you to figure out the numbers and for you to save that money. You don't have to rush it. I know that we all follow our gut and everything, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing for you to do that. But it's okay. It's also absolutely okay if you decide that you want to build that money.
Yeah.
And once you're ready, like just put a number in mind, put a timeline in mind if you want, but also know that it's okay if you decide that that paycheck is great for a longer period of time. But then once you're ready, do it. Like I said, it took me months to decide to quit my firm job. But then one day it just came out of my mouth. So one day I was just like, okay, so I'm so sorry. I'm this is my notice. My bad. And then you just do it. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I'm sure people are going to want to connect with you after this episode. What's the best place for them to reach out, stay in touch?
Oh, so I have so many places, guys. I'm everywhere, like I said. You can find me on Instagram at Kunbi ESQ, Kunbi-esque. You can also find me at kumbio.com, shop contract templates at LegallySet and LegallySet.com.
Okay. And there you have it, you guys. I will talk to you next week. Kunbi, thank you so much for being in the guest chair. This was amazing.
Thank you so much.
I loved our laugh.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, take care. Hey guys, thanks for listening to Side Hustle Pro. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other side hustlers just like you to find the show. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. Plus, sign up for my 6-bullet Saturday newsletter at sidehustlepro.co/newsletter. When you sign up, you'll receive weekly nuggets from me, including what I'm up to, personal lessons, and my business tip of the week. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/newsletter to sign up. Talk to you soon.